the sight of all men, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give peace unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
So today's lesson is about love. And of course, the one that we look to for love and look to and how to love is God, is Jesus Christ. So Paul is talking about how we live with one another and how we love one another. And not to repay evil with evil and how we deal with the bad things in life and loving each other in spite of. Now, how many of you guys can say that you show love in spite of what someone has done to you or what they have said about you? Sometimes. Why only sometimes?
My human emotions. I'll say it again. I said sometimes because other times I am in the flesh and dealing with my emotions.
So we find it hard to forgive those things and hard to show love. And we know, of course, even in what Minister Pam just read, that we are supposed to show love. So other than us just saying that it's hard, because, what we speak that's what we're putting forth. So other than it being hard, why do we find it hard to love and forgive those who have wronged us? Is it because we just rather be mad? Is it easier to be mad? Or, yes?
Like, from my experience, it's harder to be mad. It really is. Because a lot of times, it's really just your flesh saying, all right, be mad. And in reality, you really don't even want to be mad. You just want to be like, oh, just let me let it go. But that inner nasty part is like, all right, but I'm going to still act this kind of way. I'm going to still do this. But that's hard. It really is. So if we're talking about loving, I just think it's about being respectful, too. Like, you may not love the same as you love somebody else who didn't hurt you, but we could all be cordial, That's loving. That's showing love and kindness, to just be cordial. Yeah, instead of being just holding that stuff. That stuff, it kills you. Holding stuff, it kills you. It really does. Stress.
And I think we all have walked in not loving folks, because sometimes it's just attitudes, period. But I think you have to choose to walk in it, no matter how folks act. And I think there's also a maturity level in it. But it's a choice. It's a choice.
Now, in Romans 12, I have the ESV version, and verse 9 says, let love be genuine. So, is love genuine? We say we got to, at least be cordial and that type thing, but is it genuine? Is it just showing face? We have to show that we love people. Is it a genuine thing? Like, I guess I could say for myself, like, there was times when I just didn't like people. And, I'm not going to say it, but certain people that I just didn't like. And to me, being fake was worse than, being fake and acting like I liked them was worse than me just trying to say, hi from a distance. So being fake, I'm like, I'm not going to speak to them. If I don't like them, I don't like them. So I thought it was better that way than at least trying to show love. And I've learned on this journey that is not being fake But I find that even when Jesus says, pray for your enemies, pray for those who despitefully use you, at first, it's hard to do that. But when you start doing it and doing it more and more, it becomes easier. And then it's not that person changing, but it's you changing towards that person. So, or your views towards that person changing. So when it comes to, it says, let love be genuine, which this is the marks of the true Christian, to let our love be genuine. You know, I find that it's, you know, some days I like you, some days I don't. Sometimes I'm going to speak to you, sometimes I don't. And that's not genuine love. That's not what Christ teaches us, not how we're supposed to be. And it also shows unforgiveness, or even if somebody has offended you and you don't even know it. You know, like I could offend Ann, and I didn't know that I offended Ann, and Ann is mad at me, got an attitude with me. When all she had to do was say, Stacy, you know, I didn't like when you said this, or it made me feel this way when I said this. And I could say, Ann, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. You know, so it's all about communication too, and not being afraid to approach, because you got to approach in love, everything in love, because love drowns out hate. It's like the light, you know, takes over the darkness. So to love each other genuinely. I think that's very important. But we'll go into why this lesson matters. We want to be loving persons. What makes for genuine love in the world? And even look at what's going on in this world. Every day, somebody killing somebody. It was just somebody on the news. Lady today, I don't know, she shot or killed somebody. I forget where it was, but she said the demons took control and ended up killing somebody. But we have so much hate, so much gun violence, so many of our kids dying. And so in the world today, when you see stuff like that happening, how do we love as Christians? How do we love? What do we do because that's why I love God's word. Okay, so a man who rapes a young kid, how do we love that person? And he's repented. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I had to deal with that.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I don't even know how I love the person. I genuinely love them. And it happened within my family.
Oh, in your family. Okay.
And I still see them. And I still hug them. And I know that it was only God that did that. Because I always hear people say, oh, if somebody did something, da-da-da. No, don't have that attitude. Because at the first, you know, discovery of it, yeah, I wanted to do something. But, like, I swear, like, 10 minutes later, like, God said, listen, even at that moment, you cannot do that. So it really is only him. It is. Genuine is going to be him.
Yeah.
Straight up. Yeah. That's why when people say they can't forgive for even, like, for me, that's big. So if I can't forgive somebody for treating me wrong, but I can forgive somebody for a crime, something's wrong with me.
You can forgive, and it's crazy. Just as a victim of that, being molested as a child, you do forgive the person. Why I forgave them and why it doesn't really bother me, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to forgive them, and it's just hard to explain. It just, like, you don't want to spend all your energy doing that, even though someone has done you that way. And you get to see them, and then you learn about them, and you see, oh, they do have problems as well, and we all have problems, and nothing is worse than any other thing, even though I know we like to try to categorize. I guess sin is all the same. So you just have to get over it. And if you can forgive, for me, I'm saying for me, you just do it, and you feel a lot better And if you can forgive somebody for that, you can definitely forgive somebody for not speaking to you. You can forgive somebody who did you wrong, especially among Christians. If they talked about you, you know, you really can forgive them. It's just ridiculous not to.
I'm going to keep it real, as we all are. I didn't always know how to forgive folks. And so I would build up a barrier. So you don't get in and I don't get out. And so now I'm learning as I get older, because life really too short. You go to enough funerals, you see enough stuff that you don't have time to hold on to it. And so you just have to choose to walk in it, because you're going to get them attitudes again. Because folks ain't going to always do right, and even if you forgive them, they may look at you like you don't know what they're talking about. So now I just choose to forgive, and it helps me. It helps me. It releases me. I used to think, like you said, it was fake. You know, I know they don't like me, so what am I up in their face for? But that's their choice. My choice now is to walk in love. I don't care how ugly you may act, because I've acted ugly too. I said, so to walk in love, that's my choice now. So I can feel better. I mean, I feel better, so life too short. Life really is too short.
And I think that a lot of times we are taught that, like, if somebody do you wrong, don't talk to them no more. And if you do try to go, because I've had someone say right here to me in the church, because someone was not talking to me, and when they finally did, I gave them a hug, and they was like, see, I can't be fake like that. But I'm really not being fake. I really wanted, and I was happy that that person talks. You understand what I'm saying? So you just have to, and I'm being real, you know, and you just have to just do it, and you feel so much better after you do it. You just got to get past that and stop listening to what people put in your ears back in the days, you know. Oh, you a punk, you know, because that's what I've been called.
From experience with forgiving, I went through a lot. I went through a whole lot. A lot of things I don't speak on, I don't say much about. But I can go back to when my ex-husband left me when I was 5 months pregnant. And I had to convince myself a couple of years later, because I want to say Carmelo may have been a baby. He was still a baby. And I was in and out of court. And to look at somebody when you go to court every time with the rage that I had in me, and before I decided to come back to Christ, I was angry, but I had to convince myself. I had to convince myself that I was going to forgive him, no matter how much. And even though in time as he was away, but when I had to go to court, that rage came back. But I was still convincing myself that I forgave him. But every time I went back to court, that thing came back to me. But that was God reminding me, you haven't truly forgiven. But I recognized, and I can remember riding from the courthouse all the way home crying. And it wasn't even home to work, because I had to go to work. I cried that whole ride, and I was talking to the Lord about, how can I say that I forgive him, but this rage is still here? How come I still have this rage within me about this situation? And I said that I forgive him. It took a minute. And I want to say it might not have even lifted off of my shoulders until he apologized. And sometimes you won't even get that apology. So, you know, so this is things that you got to work out with God. I mean, we all have a way of coping or thinking of how we will forgive, but I don't know. It's different. I had to convince myself. And when I recognized that I wasn't doing a good job, I had to talk to the Lord about it. And that's when the real healing and the mending of my heart started.
Yeah, see, this love, forgiveness always comes up because I truly believe that we have to first know how to love forgive. You know, even when you love yourself, you know, people will say that sounds selfish, but you have to love yourself to be able to show love to others. Love God, love yourself, and be able to forgive. And so forgiveness and love comes hand in hand, because when you know what God requires of you when it comes to forgiveness, it says if we want to be forgiven, we have to forgive. And as hard as it may be, but for that reason alone is the reason why I had to let some stuff go. Because that hit me one night when I was, you know, like you have your nights you crying, you mad, and you upset, and you like, God, how is that person doing all this and getting away with it? Look like their life is good, and I'm over here hurt, you know. And you want to see, you want to see that stuff come back to them, like just being real. You know, they put me through so much. But first of all, God, Holy Spirit, that ain't your business. I may never, you know, that ain't my business. Whatever happens to me, I got to deal with it, and don't worry about what other people are going through. And if you want to be forgiven, you need to forgive. So when that hit me, it was like, okay, I got to get this together. But it's about loving God, knowing His Word, and loving myself, because I want better for myself. Because if I don't forgive, guess what? I won't be forgiven, and that ain't good on me in the end. But we're gonna move on. I'm gonna lift up verses. Go down to 12. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. Be constant in prayer. And of course, we know prayer is so important because it changes things. It changes our attitude. And when we pray, I think I might have shared this with y'all, but I swear, because it's like this aha moment when I had a couple years ago. I was so broken, and I just had it. And I was on the phone with a friend, and I was just crying, and they've never heard me cry like that. And I probably already said this story, but because I'm not a crier, so if I'm boo-hoo crying, you know something's wrong. And instantly started praying, went into warfare. And then after that, I got off the phone. I went in my house and just laid out before God. And I mean, I was crying, but I was praying. And I didn't pray for myself. I prayed for those who made me get to that point that I was at. And when I tell you, within a matter of minutes, my tears just stopped. I just got up, and it was like, okay, went on about my business. It's that simple when you really just give it to God, and it's just about you have to love in spite of, no matter what they've done, and genuinely. So it's not, I see you here, oh, good to see you, hey girl, and then you go and gossip, and she was in church today, yeah, she spoke to me, but I wasn't really, you know, I really don't like her, I gave her a little, you know, we can't do that either. We have to love genuinely. Can't have our little gossip corners, or what they call it, parking lot gossip. We have to love genuinely, in spite of what someone may have done or what we think they've done, and continue to show love. Verse 14 says, bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Somebody has something to say? No.
Stacy, all these are characteristics, right, of our Christian behavior. Yeah, so even if you say you love me, but if you act like you don't, if your audio don't match your video, then you still messed up. And so you can say one thing, but you got to do it too. Because folks are watching. And when you say you got to let some stuff go, like me, I got to let some stuff too. But I can't let Bible study go. I can't let the word go, because that's what it's saying in here. We have to do all these stuff in order to stay focused and stay grounded. So if you're going to sincerely love me, be real. I mean, not the gossip thing, because we all have done that. We all have done that, and sometimes we still do it if we ain't careful. So you just, it's actions speak louder than words, as I think my mama used to say. Yeah.
Just want to read a little bit of the insight. It says, Paul called for real or active love, real showing actions. After all, fake love isn't love at all, especially when it's expressed in words without deeds. Going further, he was not talking about brotherly or familiar family acquaintance love, No, he was talking about the unconditional love that God has shown to humankind in allowing his only begotten son to die to pay our sin debt. This was no tit for tat or can you help me in return action. It was loving whether the person loved return love or not.
That's hard.
Mhm.
That's hard.
Yeah, yeah. How does genuine love evidence itself in the world? Believers hate what is evil while at the same time clinging to the good. Agape love conquers all. Jesus is our ultimate example of agape love in practice. Despite being opposed by his hometown, the Jewish religious leaders, and Roman authorities leading to his crucifixion, he never expressed any hatred, which only Jesus can do, because that is love. A great action in love. Just his story alone, with how people hated and did so much to him, and he still died on the cross for them. Even at the time, they still had another chance to get it right. Let's see, where am I at here? Verse 14, we left off at. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. Repay no evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourself, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. Now, I know I spoke a little bit on that, wanting to see things, but how many of you ever, even still to this day, felt like getting back at somebody for something they've done or they said?
I think in a moment you do.
Yeah,
Till
across
you
your
have to
mind.
Catch yourself, yeah.
Mhm,
Till you have to really catch yourself and say, okay, now I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Like Cheryl, the young man that killed Talisha, sitting in the courtroom over and over, listening to them how they lie. And I just kept looking at him, me and Michelle, because we wanted to jump across the table. I mean, I'm a minister there.